The massive diplomatic station, Harmony's Edge, stretched across 12 kilometers of space, its crystal spires and metallic rings gleaming under the light of 3 different suns. Inside the main assembly hall, a symphony of alien voices filled the air. The Zephyrian delegates clicked their mandibles in heated discussion about mining rights, while the slug-like Morvani representatives oozed slowly toward their speaking platforms, leaving trails of bioluminescent slime that served as their written language. Admiral Lee Jiho of the Hegemony Navy sat in his elevated command booth, watching the proceedings with the bored expression of someone who had witnessed this exact same drama play out hundreds of times before. His 4 eyes, a trait common to his reptilian species, tracked multiple conversations simultaneously, while his scaled fingers tapped against his datapad. Below him, 847 different species argued, negotiated, and postured in the grand tradition of galactic politics. The crystalline hive-mind entities chimed their musical concerns about trade route security, their bodies refracting light into rainbow patterns that served as emotional displays. Nearby, a delegation of mechanical beings called the Forge Collective transmitted data bursts to each other, their red optical sensors blinking in rapid sequences that passed for conversation among their kind. The spider-like Arachnari ambassadors hung from the ceiling in their silk hammocks, occasionally lowering themselves to inject venom-laced commentary into particularly heated debates. "Same old disputes," Lee Jiho muttered to his aide, a young officer whose insectoid features twitched with nervous energy. "The Void Dancers want exclusive rights to the dark matter fields in Sector 7. The Plasma Weavers are complaining about piracy again, and the Gas Giant Collective is threatening trade sanctions over atmospheric harvesting regulations." Officer Kim Nayan, a sleek humanoid with silver skin and large black eyes, monitored the sensor arrays from her station near the observation deck. Her species, the Stellari, were known throughout the galaxy for their exceptional sensory capabilities and had served as the Council's early warning system for over 3 centuries. Today felt like any other day in her peaceful, predictable career. The Council chamber itself was a marvel of engineering, designed to accommodate the vast diversity of galactic life. Atmospheric zones shifted from one area to another, allowing methane-breathing frost wraiths to sit comfortably next to the plasma-based entities known as star-touched. Gravity fields adjusted in real time to support creatures ranging from the massive, boulder-like rocklings to the delicate, floating jellyfish beings called void drifters. Admiral Lee Jiho reviewed his daily reports with mechanical precision. 17 new species had achieved basic faster-than-light travel in the past solar cycle, all of them following the same predictable pattern. First, they would accidentally stumble into Council space with primitive warp drives that barely functioned. Then came the wide-eyed wonder phase, where they marveled at galactic technology, like children seeing fireworks for the first time. Finally, they would humbly request membership in the Council, grateful to learn from their more advanced neighbors. "It's almost pathetic how predictable they are," Lee Jiho commented, scrolling through files of recent first contacts. "The feline-like Parians last month, the aquatic Dolphoids the month before that. They all arrive in the same rickety ships with the same primitive weapons, making the same mistakes their predecessors made millennia ago." The Hegemony Navy's database contained detailed profiles of over 50,000 primitive species they had encountered over the centuries. Most never progressed beyond basic interplanetary travel. Those that did achieve rudimentary FTL drives usually took another 1,000 years to develop anything approaching decent technology. The Council had grown comfortable in their role as the galaxy's mature, advanced civilizations guiding their younger, more primitive neighbors. Kim Nayeon's console chimed softly, indicating an incoming sensor contact. She glanced at the display with practiced indifference, expecting to see another entry-level exploration vessel limping toward Council space with a failing drive core and dreams of galactic citizenship. Her species had evolved exceptional night vision, and her large eyes could detect energy signatures across multiple spectrums simultaneously. "Contact bearing 27 Mark 5, she announced in a bored tone that had become standard for such routine encounters. "Single vessel, unknown configuration, approaching from the galactic rim. Estimated arrival in 6 standard hours. Admiral..." Li Jiho didn't even look up from his datapad. The Galactic Rim was a notorious breeding ground for primitive species. Most galactic citizens avoided that region entirely, considering it a backwater, filled with barely evolved cultures still fighting with chemical propellant weapons and dreaming of reaching their nearest star systems. "Standard protocols," he ordered, with a dismissive wave of his clawed hand. "Send the welcome package, prepare the integration briefings, and clear a docking bay for whatever scrap heap they're flying. Oh, and make sure medical is standing by. These Rim species usually show up half dead from radiation exposure or life support failures." Around the chamber, various alien species continued their debates, completely unaware that their routine was about to be shattered forever. The Robotic Forge Collective calculated trade probabilities, the Gaseous Nebula Shepherds discussed stellar engineering projects, and the Crystalline Harmony Speakers negotiated peace treaties between minor worlds. None of them suspected that their comfortable assumption of galactic superiority was about to crumble. After all, they had seen this scenario play out countless times before. Another primitive species, another easy integration, another grateful addition to their collection of lesser civilizations. It was almost boring in its predictability. How wrong they were about to be. Scientist Park Bora's crystalline fingers trembled as she recalibrated her sensor array for the third time in 10 minutes. Her species, the Luminar, had evolved from living crystal formations and possessed an innate understanding of energy patterns that made them the galaxy's premier sensor technicians. But right now, her centuries of experience felt completely useless against the readings flooding her displays. "This can't be right," she muttered, her translucent blue skin flickering with patterns of confusion and growing alarm. The energy signatures cascading across her screens defied every law of physics she had studied. The approaching vessel registered, has a solid mass roughly 50 kilometers in length, yet it moved through space with the effortless grace of a racing yacht navigating calm waters. Her primary console displayed power readings that made no sense. The unknown ship's energy output exceeded the combined power generation of the Council's 3 largest battle fleets. Most disturbing of all, these massive energy levels appeared to be the vessel's idle running power, not its maximum capability. Park Bora had never seen anything like it in her 400-year career. "Commander Kim Era," she called out, her voice carrying the harmonic resonance typical of her crystalline species. "You need to see this immediately." Commander Kim Era glided over from her command station, her tentacled form moving with the fluid grace of her aquatic heritage. The oceanic peoples had ruled vast underwater civilizations for millennia before achieving space travel, and their natural ability to process multiple data streams simultaneously made them excellent tactical officers. Her large fish-like eyes could track dozens of readouts at once, a skill that had served the Council well in countless first-contact scenarios. But as she absorbed the sensor data, her usual calm composure began to crack. Her tentacles twitched, in patterns that her species used to express extreme concern, and bioluminescent patches along her skin flashed rapid warnings to other crew members. "Run a full diagnostic on all sensor arrays," Kim Era ordered, though her voice carried little hope that equipment failure would explain these readings. "Contact the mechanical collective and have them verify our instruments." The spider-like technician from the Arachnari delegation scuttled over on its 8 mechanical legs, its cybernetic implants clicking as they interfaced directly with the station's computer systems. The Arachnari had replaced most of their biological components with advanced machinery centuries ago, making them living computers capable of processing vast amounts of data. All systems functioning within normal parameters, the mechanical spider reported in its buzzing artificial voice. "Sensor accuracy confirmed at 99.7%. The readings are authentic." Across the sensor bay, other alien specialists began gathering around additional monitoring stations, a gas-based entity called Kim Hwan, whose people existed as sentient clouds of reactive particles, drifted between the instruments while analyzing electromagnetic signatures. Its body sparked with electrical discharges as it processed the impossible data. "The hull composition is completely unknown," Kim Hwan announced, its voice crackling like controlled lightning. The materials appear to be some form of exotic matter that shouldn't exist according to current galactic science. The density readings suggest armor plating that could withstand direct hits from stellar-class weapons. Dr. Park Yuna, an insectoid researcher with compound eyes that could see across 17 different spectrums, buzzed with agitation as she studied the vessel's propulsion signatures. Her mantis-like claws clicked against her instruments as she tried to make sense of what she was seeing. The drive system is generating gravitational distortions without any detectable exotic matter consumption, she reported in her chittering voice. It's manipulating space-time itself, as if gravity were just another tool. This technology is at least 10,000 years beyond anything in our databases. The implications began sinking in as more specialists joined the analysis. The rock-like granite collective representatives, massive boulder-shaped beings who communicated through seismic vibrations, sent tremors through the station floor as they expressed their concern. The energy-based star-touched entities, who normally existed as pure plasma, began flickering erratically as they struggled to process the impossible readings. The weapon signatures are even more disturbing, announced Lee Minho, a reptilian, tactical analyst whose scaled hide had turned pale with fear. Each weapon system on that vessel appears to have more destructive capability than our entire defense fleet, and I'm detecting at least 47 different weapon arrays. Word began spreading through the council chambers as the sensor data was transmitted to various delegations. The musical harmonic speakers fell silent mid-song, their crystalline bodies dimming as they absorbed the information. The hive-minded swarm collective began buzzing in agitated patterns as thousands of individual minds tried to process the threat. Admiral Lee Jiho's confidence evaporated as he reviewed the compiled reports. His four eyes darted between displays, showing mass readings, energy signatures, and structural analyses that painted a picture of technological superiority beyond anything the Council had ever encountered. The vessel approaching their station represented a level of advancement that reduced their most sophisticated warships to primitive toys. "This changes everything," he whispered, his scaled hands gripping his command chair as the full scope of the situation became clear. If this is what they consider a standard exploration vessel, what do their actual warships look like? The question hung in the air like a death sentence as the impossible readings continued flooding their sensors. Whatever species had built, this vessel possessed technology that made the combined knowledge of 847 galactic civilizations look like Stone Age tools, and it was heading straight for them with unknown intentions. Reality itself seemed to tear apart as the eternal vigil dropped out of hyperspace. Space twisted and buckled around the massive vessel like fabric being stretched beyond its breaking point. The gravitational shockwave that announced its arrival sent ripples through local spacetime, causing every sensor on Harmony's edge to scream warnings simultaneously. The diplomatic station, massive as it was, trembled like a leaf in a hurricane. Crystalline spires that had stood firm for centuries vibrated with harmonic frequencies that created haunting music throughout the halls. The Arachnari technicians scuttled for cover as their delicate equipment sparked and overloaded from the gravitational disturbance. Even the rock-like granite collective representatives, beings weighing several tons each, felt themselves shift slightly from the spatial warping. Commander Kim Era gripped her console as the station's artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. Around her, floating alien delegates found themselves suddenly pressed against walls or lifted toward the ceiling as local space readjusted to accommodate the newcomer's presence. The gas-based entities of the nebula shepherds dispersed and reformed, frantically, their gaseous bodies struggling to maintain cohesion in the unstable gravitational field. "By the ancient void," whispered Dr. Park Yuna, her compound eyes reflecting the brilliant light now flooding through the observation windows. "What kind of propulsion system can bend reality like that?" The eternal vigil materialized before them like a mountain given form and purpose. Its hull gleamed with an impossible midnight black material that seemed to absorb light while simultaneously radiating a subtle energy field that made the surrounding space shimmer like heat waves. The ship's surface was not smooth, but covered in geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. as if the human designers had incorporated mathematics that alien minds couldn't fully comprehend. Massive weapon batteries lined the vessel's length, like the spines of some prehistoric beast. Each gun turret was larger than most Council frigates, and energy readings suggested they could crack planets in half with a single focused barrage. Point defense systems tracked constantly, their targeting sensors painting everything within range, with invisible beams that made every alien's survival instincts scream in terror. The ship's engine section pulsed with contained stellar fire, fusion reactors that appeared to harness the power of actual stars. Exotic matter conduits ran along the hull like glowing veins, channeling energies that the Council's greatest scientists had only theorized about in their wildest academic papers. The vessel wasn't just built, it was engineered on a level that suggested its creators understood the fundamental forces of the universe, like children playing with building blocks. Admiral Lee Jiho's scaled hands shook as he tried to process what he was seeing. The hegemony Navy's most advanced dreadnoughts looked like rowboats next to this technological marvel. His species had ruled space for 10,000 years, yet their greatest achievements suddenly felt like crude cave paintings compared to this demonstration of human engineering. "Sir," stammered Communications Officer Park Bora, her crystalline form flickering with patterns of pure bewilderment, "we're receiving a transmission from the vessel, audio only, but the translation matrix is having difficulty processing their language structure." Static filled the chamber for a moment, before resolving into a clear, warm human voice that carried the casual confidence of someone completely comfortable with wielding unimaginable power. The tone was friendly, almost cheerful, as if Captain Kim Minho were calling to arrange a dinner date, rather than potentially reshape galactic civilization. "Greetings to the Galactic Council of Sentient Species. This is Captain Kim Minho of the Terran Federation vessel, Eternal Vigil. We come in peace and request permission to dock with your station to establish formal diplomatic relations. We apologize for any inconvenience our arrival may have caused to your sensor systems." The casual politeness of the message sent chills through every alien present. Here was a species that had just demonstrated the ability to warp reality itself, arriving in a warship that could probably sterilize entire star systems, and their captain was apologizing for any inconvenience to their sensors. Dr. Park Yuna found herself struggling to form words as she activated the response protocols. Her insectoid mandibles clicked nervously as she tried to process the implications of what she was witnessing. The humans weren't trying to intimidate them, which somehow made their overwhelming technological superiority even more terrifying. "This is Dr. Park Yuna of the Galactic Council," she managed to stammer into the communication system. We welcome you to our space. Docking Bay 7 is being prepared for your arrival." As she spoke, her mind raced through the logistics of accommodating a 50-kilometer vessel. Their largest docking bays could barely handle ships 1/10 that size. How were they supposed to provide mooring for something that dwarfed their entire station? The mechanical spider beings of the Arachnari delegation began frantically calculating. Structural modifications needed to even attempt docking such a massive vessel. Their cybernetic implants overheated from the complex engineering problems involved in safely securing a ship that massive without crushing their station under its gravitational influence. "Thank you for your hospitality," Captain Kim Minho replied, his voice carrying a warmth that suggested genuine appreciation. "We'll maintain position at a safe distance while you make preparations. Our ship's mass might interfere with your station's structural integrity if we approach too quickly." The casual mention of their ship's ability to accidentally destroy the station through proximity alone sent another wave of shocked silence through the council chambers. The humans weren't boasting or threatening. They were simply being considerate. Neighbors who happened to pilot reality-bending weapons of unimaginable destruction. As the Eternal Vigil gracefully maneuvered into position, its movements defying physics with the casual ease of a dancer, every alien present began to understand that their comfortable assumptions about galactic civilization had just been permanently shattered. The age of council supremacy was ending, replaced by something far more advanced than they had ever imagined possible. The council's grand diplomatic chamber had been hastily reconfigured to accommodate the human delegation. atmospheric processors, worked overtime to create a suitable environment, while artificial gravity generators strained to maintain stability near the massive human vessel docked outside. The eternal vigil loomed through the transparent aluminum windows like a mechanical moon, its presence a constant reminder of the technological gap that had just been revealed. Captain Kim Min-ho entered the chamber with the relaxed stride of someone completely comfortable in any situation. He wore a simple dark blue uniform that seemed almost primitive compared to the ornate ceremonial garments worn by the alien delegates, yet somehow his casual confidence made their elaborate displays look desperate and overcompensated. Behind him walked pilot Li Huan, a younger human whose easy smile and curious eyes suggested he found the entire gathering fascinating rather than intimidating. The assembled alien representatives tried to maintain their diplomatic composure, but fear radiated from every delegation. The crystalline luminar flickered with nervous energy patterns, while the spider-like arachnari clicked their mechanical limbs in agitated rhythms. The gaseous nebula shepherds had condensed themselves into tight, defensive formations, and even the massive granite collective representatives seemed to have compressed themselves slightly, as if trying to appear less threatening. "Captain Kim Min-ho," began Ambassador Kretak of the Hegemony Council, his 4 reptilian eyes struggling to maintain contact with the human's gaze. "We welcome you to this historic first contact. Your vessel is quite impressive. We're curious about your civilization's technological capabilities." Captain Kim Min-ho settled into his chair with practiced ease, completely unfazed by being surrounded by hundreds of alien species who could have been pulled from humanity's worst nightmares. "Thank you for the warm welcome. We're excited to finally make formal contact with the galactic community. We've been monitoring your communications for some time and are impressed by the diversity and cooperation you've achieved." Pilot Li Huan nodded enthusiastically as he activated a holographic display showing various star charts. "It's amazing how you've managed to coordinate so many different species. Our exploration fleets have been documenting similar cooperative efforts throughout the Outer Rim, but nothing quite on this scale." Dr. Park Yuna leaned forward, her compound eyes reflecting rainbow patterns of confusion. "Exploration fleets? How many vessels like the Eternal Vigil does your civilization possess?" Li Huan glanced at his captain with mild surprise, as if the question seemed oddly basic. "Oh, the Eternal Vigil is just a standard Titan-class patrol vessel. We've got about 400 of them assigned to frontier exploration duties. They're perfect for first contact situations, since they're designed to operate independently for extended periods." The silence that followed could have been cut with a knife. 400 vessels of this capability. The combined military might of the entire Galactic Council consisted of perhaps 50 ships that could even theoretically challenge a single vessel like the Eternal Vigil, and the humans casually mentioned having hundreds of them scattered across space like cosmic police. "Cars, standard patrol vessel?" stammered Commander Kim Era, her tentacles writhing in patterns that her species used to express existential terror. "You're telling us that this ship, which exceeds our most advanced technology by centuries, is considered routine equipment?" Captain Kim Min-ho's expression grew thoughtful, as if he was trying to find a diplomatic way to explain something obvious to children. "You have to understand our situation. Humanity has been expanding through the Outer Rim for the past 60 years, establishing colonies, trade networks, and defensive perimeters. We've encountered hundreds of civilizations during that expansion, though most were pre-spaceflight when we found them." He gestured toward the holographic star chart, which suddenly expanded to show vast swaths of the galaxy marked in human blue. The assembled aliens watched in growing horror as they realized that nearly half the galaxy's outer regions were already under human influence. "We avoided the galactic core deliberately," Kim Min-ho continued, his tone remaining conversational, despite delivering what amounted to the diplomatic equivalent of a nuclear bomb. "We didn't want to interfere with your established civilization until we felt ready for formal contact. Our policy has always been to respect existing political structures whenever possible." The mechanical beings of the Forge Collective began transmitting rapid data bursts between themselves, their optical sensors flashing in frantic patterns as they tried to process the implications. The hive-minded swarm species buzzed with thousands of overlapping conversations as individual minds struggled to accept this new reality. Admiral Lee Jiho found his voice, though it came out as barely more than a whisper. "Captain, when you say this vessel is designed for exploration rather than warfare, what exactly constitutes a warship in your fleet?" The question hung in the air like a death sentence. Captain Kim Minho exchanged a glance with pilot Li Huan, and for the first time, both humans seemed to realize that their casual revelations were causing genuine distress among their hosts. "Well," Kim Minho said carefully, "the Eternal Vigil is classified as a mid-tier exploration vessel. It's designed for peacekeeping, scientific research, and diplomatic missions. Our dedicated warships are considerably more robust in their capabilities." Li Huan nodded, adding with the innocent helpfulness of someone trying to be educational, "The Apocalypse-class dreadnoughts are about 10 times larger and carry enough firepower to sterilize entire star systems if necessary. But those are strictly for defending human space against serious threats. We've only had to deploy them twice in the past decade." The revelation hit the assembled aliens like a physical blow. If this impossibly advanced vessel was considered mid-tier exploration equipment, what did their actual military look like? The casual mention of ships capable of destroying star systems, deployed only twice against serious threats, painted a picture of human military might that reduced every other galactic civilization to the level of primitive tribes throwing rocks at atomic bombs. As the implications sank in, the proud representatives of 847 galactic civilizations began to understand that their first contact with humanity wasn't the beginning of a new partnership between equals. It was more like a conversation between adults and children, with the adults finally deciding their kids were old enough to learn about the wider world. The age of galactic civilization as they knew it was over, replaced by something far more vast and powerful than they had ever dared imagine. The silence in the council chambers was deafening. For the first time in 3,000 years, the mighty rulers of the galaxy sat speechless. Admiral Vex of the Kralon Empire stared at his tactical display, watching human ships appear and disappear across star systems like ghosts. The Zephyrian trade lords clutched their profit reports, realizing their entire economic empire was built on technology humanity had abandoned centuries ago. "How long have they been watching us?" whispered High Counselor Thyra, her crystalline skin flickering with nervous energy. The question hung in the air like poison gas. Every species present knew the terrifying answer. Humanity had been observing them all along, studying their movements, their weaknesses, their pathetic attempts at galactic dominance. "Captain Kim," Minho's parting words echoed through every alien mind. "We've been waiting for you to grow up." The insult stung worse than any weapon. These proud civilizations, who had conquered star systems and enslaved entire worlds, were nothing more than children playing with toys in humanity's eyes. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, human vessels materialized near major alien colonies, not as invaders, but as silent reminders of the new reality. The sleek ships didn't attack or threaten, they simply existed, their presence more terrifying than any fleet of warships. Each craft represented technology so advanced that alien scientists couldn't even begin to understand its basic principles. On the mining world of Xerion Prime, Gorthak mining crews stopped their excavation when a human exploration ship descended from the clouds. The massive aliens, each standing 12 feet tall with arms like steel cables, watched in stunned silence as the craft landed without disturbing a single grain of sand around it. 3 humans emerged, wearing simple environmental suits that somehow protected them from the planet's toxic atmosphere better than the aliens' heavy mining armor. "Greetings," said Dr. Chen Wei, the mission's lead scientist. "We understand you've been struggling with atmospheric processes on this world. Perhaps we can help." She gestured to her companion, who produced a device no larger than a coffee cup. Within minutes, the device had cleaned a square mile of poisoned air, transforming it into breathable atmosphere. The Gorthak foreman's mandibles clicked nervously. His people had been trying to solve this exact problem for 40 years, using machines the size of buildings. These humans had done it with pocket technology, Similar scenes played out across hundreds of worlds. Human agricultural specialists appeared on drought-stricken planets, carrying seeds that could grow in any soil. Human engineers materialized at failing space stations, offering solutions that made alien technology look like cave paintings. Human doctors arrived at plague worlds with medicines that cured diseases in hours rather than years. But it wasn't conquest through force. It was conquest through kindness, which somehow made it even more complete. In the Andorian sector, Captain Rodriguez piloted her research vessel through an asteroid field where alien miners had been trapped for weeks. The asteroid contained rare crystals worth billions, but the mining operation had destabilized the entire field. Massive rocks tumbled through space, making rescue impossible with conventional technology. "Stand back," Rodriguez advised the Andorian rescue fleet. Her ship, barely larger than their shuttles, moved into the chaotic field. Energy beams danced from its hull, not destroying the asteroids, but somehow calming their violent motion. Within an hour, the entire field hung motionless. In space, perfectly stable, the trapped miners were rescued, and the Andorians claimed their prize. The rescue fleet commander stared at his instruments in disbelief. "How did you stop the gravitational chaos?" Rodriguez smiled gently. "We asked the asteroids to behave." She wasn't joking. Human technology had advanced beyond manipulating matter and energy. They could influence the fundamental forces that held reality together. Back on the Council homeworld, emergency sessions ran day and night. Desperate aliens proposed everything from military alliances to preemptive strikes. But every discussion ended the same way. Humanity's technological supremacy made resistance pointless. Their ships could appear anywhere instantly. Their weapons could unmake entire star systems without leaving a trace. Their defenses made them essentially invulnerable, yet they offered friendship instead of domination. Ambassador Kree of the Vorthan Collective finally spoke the truth everyone feared too. "Acknowledge, they're not showing us their power to threaten us, they're showing us their mercy. Any species capable of this technology could have wiped us out ages ago. Instead, they're offering to help us grow." The realization hit like a meteor. Humanity hadn't been hiding from galactic civilization. They'd been protecting it. All those years of apparent isolation, they'd been quietly preventing wars, stopping plagues, and guiding younger species toward maturity. The galaxy's greatest protectors had been invisible guardians all along. As human ships continued their peaceful missions across known space, the old order crumbled not through violence, but through the simple recognition of truth. The age of alien dominance was over. The age of human guidance had begun, and somehow that felt exactly right.